All right, 16 of the hour here in the Imus program. I'd like to apologize to our next guest, Carl Jeffers, for being so late. But Bernard ate up all the time. So anyway, good morning, Mr. Jeffers. How are you?
I'm good, Don, and it doesn't matter how late we are. If you're going to start my day with Frank Sinatra and I've got you under my skin, that's worth waiting for any time. Because
one of your 5 favorite songs.
One of my 5 favorites, and not only is that a great Sinatra classic, but that Nelson Riddle arrangement is considered one of the greatest big band vocal arrangements of all time. So that's a great way to get everybody in a great mood.
He did a bunch of Mr. Sinatra's records.
Indeed, he did.
Yeah. So, how was your Thanksgiving?
Just great. Great. Got a chance to spend it with the family. Went upstate, Syracuse. So we had a good time.
Did you use protection when you stuffed the turkey?
I don't do the stuffing.
Okay.
The turkey,
so
you don't. Okay. I wouldn't have to worry about those issues.
Okay. What is your situation? What's your position on me painting my fingernail?
Well, the only concern that I would have would be the comment that Stuart Varney made when he said that, how is it that a man in your position would have your nails done? And I was thinking, Don, that only a man in your position would, in fact, want to have their nails done. So really, that would be the point that I would want to put on the table.
Yeah. Well, I heard from Mike Arnold this morning.
Yeah.
And he seems to be okay with it, or it sounds like he is, doesn't he?
I guess.
Okay, so he's
Don, we're headed for the fiscal cliff. If you want to paint your fingernail, I'm certainly happy with that if we can work out some of these other issues.
Are we going over the cliff?
No, we're not going over the cliff, Don. The reality is the fiscal cliff is a real issue, a real problem, but it's really a symptom of a larger problem. The fiscal cliff itself will be resolved. They will, in fact, work out a deal, even if it's to simply overturn the mandated part of those sequestered cuts that would take effect January 1st. They'll work out a deal. The problem is that we are, in fact, in a society now where we can't afford the obligations that we have committed to American citizens who have come to expect us to deliver.
Social Security.
And that's Social Security. I mean, listen, Franklin Roosevelt, when they developed Social Security back in the 1930s, the idea was, Don, you would work till you're 65, retire, pick up 1 or 2 checks, and then you check out. And that would everybody was fine. They had no idea, nor did they ever envision, that we would come to a point today where people are working till they're 65, retire, and then at the age of 90, they're still jogging down to the mailbox to pick up these checks. And we have a relatively smaller workforce having to work to pay benefits to a larger group of retirees. Don, I don't know if our listeners know this. This started back in last February of this year. We now have, of the baby boomer generation, 10,000 baby boomers retiring every day in America. 10,000 of the age of 65. That is an enormous burden of obligation that we have. And I'll tell you something else, Don. The reality is that we have to look at ways to increase the revenue pool for Social Security. In the year 2000, there were 5,000 Americans who were 100 years or older. By the year 3000, just in a short 100 years, there will be 1 million Americans who are 100 years old or older living. No. Unfortunately, none of them are in this studio today.
Right.
But the reality is that we are creating a society where people, because of actuarial statistics, better health, advancing science,
so we need to bump
longer.
off some people.
What's that?
We need to bump off some people.
I think that's an option that they've said everything's on the table. So certainly they can look at that. Yeah. But there may be some other compromises that might be more popular.
And the Susan Rice situation, where are you on that?
I think that I'm where everybody's going to be. The fact is, the American people never get that concerned about cabinet appointments. We're not talking about an appointment to the Supreme Court,
right,
where when a senator says, I'm inclined now not to support so-and-so for the Supreme Court, that's big news. The fact is, most presidents, unless the nominee makes some sort of insensitive racial or otherwise ethnic comment or derogatory comment, or they're involved in some sort of personal impropriety, the reality is that the president, whoever the president is, gets his Senate appointments without having to expend a great deal of capital. Sure. And I think that in the end, as long as they cannot prove that she was specifically told that it was not the YouTube incident and that, in fact, she was able to present her case, that I was given this information and that's what I relied on when I went before the press, I think that if the president decides to appoint her, she will be confirmed.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas to you.
Carl Jeffers.
My pleasure. Good to be here.